Right, so the goal today really is to basically have a bit of a look at the PME to not start with, but we're going to have a look at the PME, the Portfolio Manager Elite. We'll do a look at our top 10 systems. We're going to have a look at the Custom Renko. We will do a little bit of an update on Dropbox, and have a look at the new system that Nick's put together, which is on our fail trend, comparing that to the older system, which is the FTE77, which ran on 1,000 ticks. So quite a difference in the actual settings on these systems, because you've got 1,000 tick, which is obviously a lot higher tick setting for crude oil, and then you've got and I'll just make sure that's on exchange time. Yeah, that's okay. And then we've got the new system on the failed trend, which is basically not new system but new settings on a 1 minute. So that's the 1,000 tick bar there that you can see on my screen. And then we've got if we scroll over here to FT80, we've actually got a 1 minute. So you can see that obviously 1 minute you're going to get a lot more bars set up, not a lot more trades. So this is interesting. He's getting about, and these are the results, 1 or 2 trades a week. Sometimes he's getting 2 to 5, but generally it's 1 trade a week. So why that's happening is because the settings are such that it's isolating a lot of the trades, not isolating, but taking a lot of the trades out, filtering a lot of the trades out. So this is quite good. Let's have a look at the performance summary on this system. Now, it didn't do outstandingly well this week, but it's not really a game of each week by week. We're not tracking it. We're not basing all our results on 1 week. We're looking at over the 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So remember that the criteria for us to make sure that this thing is doing well is firstly we have to look at the average trade net profit. That's very high. So straight away that drew my attention to the system. He's got slippage and commission in there. So when I'm looking at or assessing a system, the first thing I'm going to do is have a look at the profit. The profit looks pretty good. I'm going to drop my eyes down to profit factor. I want to make sure that the profit factor is at least over 2. I want to see that my average trade net profit is sitting above 100. It's 496. It hasn't got a lot of trades, but I know from looking at the trade list and the history and the number of and the period that this runs for, that this generally is not trading a lot, is it? It's one of those high filter systems, which is okay. The win rate's good at 63%. It trades longs and shorts, which I like, and the short side you can see is doing really well. The other thing that I'm going to kind of look at when I'm reviewing a system is I'm going to make sure that if this gets a tick, the average trade net profit, then my balance between my winning trade and my losing trade. So every time I lose, how much money am I losing on average? Well, I'm losing 478. I know that that's made up of commission and slippage, so I'm okay with that. And my average winning trade is $1,000. So that really, it's 2 to 1. So I'm very happy with that. I know that my largest losing trade is $504. So if I know that, I'm going to jump into my summary here, or my strategy summary, and look at my inputs and have a look at what my risk is. So I want to have a look at what my initial risk is on the trade, and that's 48. So $480. So we allow $10 each side for slippage and commission. So that's okay. I'm comfortable with that. I've had a few full losers. So I'm not too worried about that. Now, if we scroll down here, what's the thing that I like the most about this is that my average losing trade, or my largest losing trade, is $500, but my max drawdown is 1,000. So where would this sit if this was a system we were ranking, which we are? Where would this sit as far as performance? As far as the system that we kind of want to track, and so we'll just, yeah, it's pretty high, isn't it? So if we have a look at I've actually got it loaded up. I'm pretty sure I loaded it up into the top 10, hopefully. Did I? It's having a bit of a seniors moment here. Let's have a look here. FT88. Did I call it FT88 or 80? Let's quickly go back here. So many numbers. Okay. So let me just put these side by side. That'll make it. Oh, I called it FT80. I thought I'd called it that. Alright, so let's put them side by side. So we've got FT77, and which is our older system, or the system that we basically. So now they're sitting almost side by side. So FT88 is the one that we're gonna have a look at today, and compare that to FT77. So we'll just change that to 80. We'll go back to our spreadsheet. And there it is there. We'll go to 80. Actually, no, that's not it. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's do this. If you want to kind of track a system, just go to if you're looking to isolate all or one of the systems and look at all the systems that are based under that, or the settings based under that system, just go. No, I haven't loaded. I used to have 88 1 minute. There it is there. So that's the system there. It's tracking along well, as I said. We want to have a look at the overall. The overall profit is $9,000, so it's actually going to be easily in our top 10, because I know for a fact that that's going to sit us around here. There it is there. It's FT88. That's the one there. So I think what's thrown me is the actual color code on that. So if we have a look at that failed trend, even though it didn't kind of make a lot of money this week, it's actually performing very, very well, and it doesn't, as I said before, it doesn't trade a lot, so that's okay. So we'll bring that up. It's taking a trade this week. Let's have a look. It looks like it's had a little bit of a drop in equity. So if we go to our trade periodicals, yeah, its last trade was 504, so it's had a loser. But as I said before, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we load all our systems into our PME. So let's go to our spreadsheet here, and our top 10. What I've done at the moment is, as we're reviewing each system, so we consider the new FT system, the failed trend system, the NIX system. We consider that to be a good system because it meets our benchmark, doesn't it? It meets a lot of the criteria that we want. If we're an aggressive trader and we want to have high turnover of trades, would that system be appropriate or not? Like if we want a kind of high frequency, no, it wouldn't be, would it? So you'd probably get a little bit frustrated. So just tempering the system selection up with making sure that if you are going to select a system, that it meets your trading style and personality. So there's no point. If I'm someone who likes a lot of action in the market and I load that system up, I'm probably going to get frustrated after a couple of hours of sitting there waiting for it to take a trade. So it's important that you basically have a good review of the system and make sure that you really know how often it's going to trade and the frequency at which it's going to trade. So at the moment in our PME, I did mention on Wednesday that I'm going to be referring back to this document a lot because this is our top 10. This is going to be our top 10 PME, and we're going to track our systems in here, and we'll get more and more detail into this spreadsheet. So like anything that you're using as a tool, you get out of something what you put into it. So the more work we put into this spreadsheet, the more we're going to get out of it. So you can see that there's not the main area that we need to fill is basically this area here, our trade list. So if we're starting with a fresh system, which we are with NIX system, it's not in there. So if we go to system management list, and you'll see that we've got Pen 17, Pen 15, the Fortress 21. We've got a DAX system in there which we can take out. So that DAX 1 minute is an old system. We'll take that out and we'll load our new system in there. We've got the coffee system, which I want to kind of keep tracking. We've got T24, Crude 3 minute, which is not in our top 10 anymore, Pen 10. So there's a few systems here that are not in our top 10 anymore. So we need to kind of take those out. So let's go to, we know that we've got a vacancy here in D. The reason why I'm showing you this is because it's just handy to just get a bit of an update on how to use this spreadsheet and how to get the most out of it, because it is a pretty good tool for tracking your portfolio, and this is one of the things we're going to be doing on a weekly basis. We're going to want to go in here. You want to make sure that your minimum tick or pip price is right, so we'll just take out this data here. It's as simple as just deleting the data. So, and we're going to re-tag this as with our system details. So we'll go in here and we'll grab our system. I'll just scroll down. We've got a few loaded here. We've got a few loaded, so we'll grab FT80, which is Nick's system. There it is there. We'll just go to our, and we'll call it FT88, so we'll relabel that, just so we're consistent. We don't want to get confused because we've got a gold strategy that's 80. So we'll put that in there, 88. We'll actually load that into our Dropbox. So I'll just put that into my E drive for now. And we're in week 16. So this is Nick's week 16. So now we're going to basically just pull this over. And we are going to add that to our week 16 Dropbox. Once this finishes sorting itself out. Yeah, great. Okay, there it is, FT88. So the way we do that is, first we're going to drop the data into the PME. So we're going to go into here, into a desktop, and FT88. So I'm going to save that as an Excel. I've got two options to save this. I can save it as an MHT file and an Excel file. If I'm just going to drop this new system into the top 10 and track it, why wouldn't I save it as an MHT file? Do I have to save it as an Excel file? And what if I'm using this system? For what reason would I save it as an MHT file if I was going to do that as well? Because remember, like, you've got either or you can do both. So I'm definitely going to save it as an Excel file because that data has to go into the spreadsheet as an Excel data. The MHT file gives me the system settings in Explorer, doesn't it? So if I open up an MHT file in Explorer, I get to visually look at the system and the settings. So that file and that document, that MHT, that's very valuable in case I ever lose my system. So I want to make sure that I've always got both done. So I would, in this instance, I would do one save in MHT, one save in XLS, in Excel, because that way at least I've got a backup MHT in case I lose my workspace. Because there's nothing more frustrating than losing your workspace or getting it corrupted and then trying to rebuild it without the settings and getting anywhere near what you had, because generally you'll find that you won't. So that's a little bit frustrating, but we're all good to go here. So we've cleared our D tab, which is we're going to rename as no, it's not pen, it's a fail trend elite system. That's the actual description system. It's 88 and it's crude oil and it's a 1 minute. So it's a time-based chart and we're okay. We've got our minimum tick size, we need that set to to $10. We need to fill out some of this other information here, which we will in a minute. But let's just get the data in. Now, if I put this data in here from a fresh spreadsheet, I should get an input OK and calculation OK. That should all work well. So if I go and open this file, so if I go File, Open, and I go to my desktop, it should be there, FT88, which it is. This will come up with the spreadsheet that I've saved. There's my trade list. That's the only information I need. I need to copy the trade 1 down to that top left hand corner down to this top right, bottom right corner, which is my commission, and I go file. So I'm going to basically copy that. Now when I go, you may have to do this twice, but let's just see if it works. So if I paste this, no, it's okay. I'm going to paste it as a value because I've actually got a lot of different options for pasting, but I want to paste it as value. And when you paste it as a value, it'll keep the integrity of the data when you load it into the spreadsheet. That's what we want. So we're all good to go there. Everybody clear with that one? So now that it's in, it's actually populated. It's gone into all the cells. We've got input OK, calculation OK. We're good to go. Now what happens is, if you, say for example, you've been tracking FT88 for probably a couple of weeks, and then every week it's spitting out one trade. So again, we'll just scroll this down to trade. If I get a new trade next week and it's trade, and that's now trade 31, or I've gone for a couple of weeks and I've got to add some data in, I need to make sure that my numbers, if I drop a new, say I copy that trade list and I was copying, say for example, the last trade, but this was trade say 60. Say we'd been going for a number of weeks and I wanted to copy that in, that last trade, I'll copy that. If I add that into my, it doesn't matter, so this is another trade in the sequence of trades that I'm tracking. I paste it in as a value. I've got to make sure that any trades I add each week, because you're not going to copy the whole, when you do this on a weekly basis, you're not going to copy the whole trade list, are you? Because in week 16 or week 15, you may have re-optimized this strategy. So what happens is, if I go and copy, if this week I dump in all of my data, my new data from my re-optimized, I'm not getting the proper history of the system, am I? So if this here was the week that you re-optimized, say week 16 or week 15 was the week you re-optimized your system, then you're going to have probably a different stop and target. So you need to make sure you've got your old data in there, but you've copied your one trade that you had this week and put that in there, because that new trade is based on your new settings. So what else am I going to have to do if I've got new settings for this system that I did for week 15? Because this here is all week 14, and here's week 15's results. Actually, I can't put that in there. Let me just delete that. Sorry guys, that's just got a little bit ahead of myself. So we should be able to put it. So if I've got week 14 here, and then I've got week 15, and I did an optimization in week 15, I don't want to copy week 15's data and just dump it all into this spreadsheet, because I want to keep the history from the prior to the re-optimization. Does that all make sense? Yep. So you're just grabbing whatever trades you had this week and putting that in, and you're making sure that your trade numbers are lining up. At the moment there's an input error because I've got trade 30, two trade 30, so that's got to be 31, and that should fix up that input error. Good, we're golden. Alright, so I've got to take that trade out because that was just an example trade. But you get what I'm saying. Don't just automatically dump all of the data in, because if you've done a re-optimization, you want to keep the history and the integrity of your data, and that's very important. So there'll be a point where, if you say you had 5 trades this week, well, that's tough. You're going to have to put 5 new trades in here, and you're going to have to make sure that they line up numerically as well, and then that'll be good. That way what you've got is you've got a little bit of a running history of, alright, well, week 15 I did a re-optimization. These were all the trades for week 14 on the similar settings. I would also put in there, if you're going to adjust your system, I'd make sure that you fill out the details at the top here, and I'd be running this information here on the side for each week that you're trading. And if you do change your settings, copy and paste your MHT file into, say, insert a comment and copy and paste your new file into here, so it lines up with the week that you're trading. So if this is week 14, so if we go back here for a second and we have a look at our top 10, well, week 13 was the 27th of the 3rd, week 14 was the 4th of the 3rd of the 4th, week 15 is the 10th of April. So that way it's just lining up with how everything's running. We go back to our PME and line your trades up like that, and with this system, put a note about whether you're trading longs and shorts, whether you're long or short, whether it's only longs, and start recording your rising volatility, your market conditions, any system notes, system performance, and then obviously your settings here. So it's a good way really of keeping everything together and tracking your system, and I'll make sure that I do that for our systems here. So if there's any re-optimization, we've got a history of that, and we can see that. And the other thing that's going to happen too, obviously, is that as we're doing these systems, you're going to see them in the Dropbox each week. We've got a new Dropbox folder being updated and the system being updated. And if there is an optimization change, then we do that. We add that in and put that on the actual workspace. So one of these workspaces, I think it was Fortress 21. I did an optimization, and I've set optimize for week 15. So that's the optimization for week 15. So that tells you that anything. So if I put in these Fortress trades, I can't put in the whole trade list, can I? Because then I'm not actually. So when you look at the Fortress once that's loaded into the top 10, that PME, you're going to see that there's going to be a difference between the settings on the Fortress. So that's a good way of kind of tracking how we're optimizing and what's happening with the systems. Alright guys, hopefully that wasn't confusing. I feel like there's a lot going on there, which there is. Obviously we've got two spreadsheets, we've got the workspaces. I'm hoping to simplify this process a little bit more, but it's just a case of whatever systems you're tracking, making sure that you've got yours loaded into a spreadsheet and that you're keeping an eye on what's happening with the dynamics of the market and how that's impacting on your system. If we go back to crude oil, because the good thing about crude is that we've got our daily chart here. You'll see that on the daily chart we've had a bit of a dip down, but then we're getting another rally up. So crude this year has been in a kind of a sideways type market. It's started to rally now. It's kind of that 45 level needs to try to be broken. So if we open this up a little bit more, you'll see that we've had a push up, then a bit of a sell off, and now we're back moving higher again as well. So it's definitely, you can see that you're going to have two completely, and our volatility stochastic is dropping kind of mid-range. Our ATR is dropping. The volume is still pretty good on crude. Like this is probably really, really good volume as far as historically, because you can see that now we're getting to a situation where the volume's getting up to about 750,000. So when I was trading this a couple of years ago, the volume on crude was probably about 280-300. So it's almost doubled in that time. So there's a lot more plays in the crude market. It means that if you're trading crude oil, you can afford to have a multi-system strategy and start adding, multiple contracts, because you've got that volume and liquidity there. It's a great market to be in. So the dynamics of crude have changed a little bit. It means that it definitely is more beneficial to have multiple systems that you track on crude oil, but you've just got to be on top of the daily directional stuff, because you can see there that there's, over the period of that year, there's been some significant changes with direction and volatility, so we've got to keep on top of that. Now, that brings me to our Renko. Now, has anybody here, have you guys ever looked at Renko or traded Renko before? You've got a few different Renko options, and I'm going to post those up here. So you've got the standard Renko, the custom Renko, and the mean Renko. Now, the Renko charts are great because they obviously give you a lot of options as far as, and I'm just going to push this over here. So once that loads up, let's just go back to custom Renko while we're waiting. Now this is our custom Renko. Now the interesting thing with custom Renko, now Renko basically is, the way it works is that you decide as the trader what how much of a move you're required for a price bar to print. So in traditional trading, you've either got a tick chart, which is determined by the transaction history that you select, or you've got a minute or a time-based chart, which you determine what the time setting is that you want to see on the price bars. So if I select say a 1 minute chart, then 1 minute will go past, and then whatever ranges occurred in that 1 minute, that will be printed on my chart. Well, you've got a little bit more power with the Renko. You can decide, all right, well, I'm going to decide that I need 5 points of movement on my chart, either above or below, for a price bar to print. So what effectively happens there is that if I'm using Renko charts, then I basically need, if that's my starting point, I'm not going to get a new brick movement or a new price bar print unless I've got that 5 points of movement difference in my starting point. So if I don't have that 5 points, then I don't get a new brick print, which is good, because it means that if there's no movement in price, then there's no adjustment to your chart at all. So you can see that 40.62, and so our high there is 40.62, 40.72, 40.82, 40.92. So you can see there that it's moving up in increments of 10. So we go back. So your range there, your range between your high and your low is 5 points. So 62 to 82. There we go. So 5 again, 5 again, 5 again. So it's basically moving based on a specific range of that 0.5 value. So if we add in, so we can't go any lower than that. So let's just get out of there for a second. So there has to be a 5 point movement on crude for a brick to print. If it doesn't have that 5 points, then it's not going to print at all. So it has to have that value, and it runs off that first decimal value. So there it is there, 1 and 6. You've got 2 and 7, which is 5, and then obviously if you get a negative value, your high and low there. So you've got 5 points down from 9, which leaves you with 40.4. Then we push down another 5 points. So if I don't have that 5 point move, that 5 point variation, I'm not going to get a trade. And it's if it's 5 points higher from the high, then it's going to be it's from based from your high and low setting. So you're looking at whatever your high and low are, you have to have a 5 point variation to that for another price bar to print. So that's your custom Renko. And what that does is it does a really good job of picking up the trend as well. And you can see there it's quite a good and effective little system as far as plotting price movement and plotting the ebb and flow of the market. And it takes a lot of the noise out of the market out. So it really does look good. But with back testing, now these a couple of the tips with back testing. With your back testing, you're going to find that you have to have your order entry. Now, at the moment, the way GMT order entries are, they basically go in next bar on close. So what happens is once this bar closes, so next bar on open it is, our order entries are. So you'll notice that once we get a breakout or we get a trend trader confirmation, it'll take the next bar on open. So for example, if we break, say, the trend, and I'll put the GMT stuff on here, so we've got a good look at that. Support resistance. Here's a good example here. So if we bring our break here, so let's say that we break here, that's our entry for the trend, and then that would be there's our confirmation there, but there's our entry, because remember it's the next bar on open. But with this custom Renko, if you're back testing this to get really accurate results, the entry actually needs to be this bar on close. So we actually need to have this bar on close as our entry. So we need to modify if you are looking at doing any back testing on Renko, I would hold off on custom Renko. You can do mean Renko and normal Renko, but I would hold off on custom Renko because we need to modify the entry rules just on the strategy. So we have to put together a specific one just for this custom Renko, because the results look really good, but as I mentioned before, if we insert the trend trader here, and we go, okay, we're going to insert the trend as a strategy to run, and we'll go okay. The other thing we need to make sure is that we've got our start time, end time, so it'll take enough trades for us to plot. But also too, that what with the Renko, we need to make sure that our stops and targets are a multiple of the brick size. So is 38 a multiple of 5? It's not, is it? So we need to make that 30. So you just basically 6 times that multiple is going to give you 30. So then we go to our target. Any other option that we have here, if it's a trailing stop, we don't have that on. But if we have our target, we want to make that, say for example, we'll make it 100, make it more realistic, and we'll go okay, and we'll just close that. So that now is giving us some trade numbers, and you can see the performance report looks really good. But the trouble is that it's actually not as accurate as it should be, because it's doing that next bar on open. So we need this to be this bar on close to make sure that we get the most accurate results. But it does look really good. Like this Renko, I like the way it looks. I like the way it. I've had a chat to a couple of our traders who are using it. But we need to, if we're going to use this custom Renko, we need to make sure that we set that up properly, and that we have all our things for the Renko charts set up as a multiple starting at the right time. So we'll talk about anchoring now as well. So one of the things when you run a back test on Renko, you want to make sure that there's correct anchoring of the chart. And what I mean by anchoring is that if you look at a normal chart like T16 for example, which is our trend system, we'll have 6 months of data loaded up or 8 months of data loaded up. That's okay for that chart, because what you're looking for is its tick charts, its transactional charts. But Renko needs to build the chart. So to build a proper chart on Renko, you need a lead up. So what I typically say to traders is, all right, well, if you're going to go for 3 months data back, don't put it like that. Go back to a first date, and let's say you're going back to February. You want to record all of February, March, and April's trades, or even January, all of January's trades. So if you're going to start from January, go back to December and add the last 3 days of December, so the bricks can be formed for December. Then that way, January, February, March are all proper trading months. They've had their bricks form properly, because you don't want to start a month where you've got the first 2 or 3 days where the bricks is trying to form properly in the lead up to taking trades. So particularly if you're running one of our algorithms like the support resistance, if the bricks aren't forming properly, do you think the support resistance is going to be accurate? No, it's not. So we need to make sure that those two things kind of are put into place as well. Alright, so let's have a look and let's have a bit of a bo peep at that. So that looks really good, doesn't it? It's coming up with really good results, but we still have a little bit to go, because we want to make sure that we've anchored the chart. We've got a multiple. We'll go through and double check our multiples, and we should be able to see that 2400 is our time slot, so I'll fix that up. We've got our multiple there. We have our target multiple, which is 100. We'll change this to false. That's a filter that we probably don't want to put in. And we've got every day being traded. We'll add in Sunday. And we are good to go there. Yes. So we just might take that higher time frame filter out as well. Just see if that makes a difference. It'll give us a lot more trades, but okay, that's better, even better. So we're looking pretty good. Max drawdown, we've had some losses there, which is good. System looks fantastic. We'll add in slippage and commission, so we'll do that as part of it. But we also want to put in, there's one thing we have to finish off on this system, is we need to make sure that we get Mike to change the code so it's entry on this bar. Okay, so has that impacted on the results at all? Not really. Still looking pretty good. So custom Renko looking good on our charts. And as I said, we'll watch this space, because on Wednesday we're going to get a little bit of a look at what happens when we have custom Renko with our different order entry. So it should be a fairly easy change, and we'll add that in. So any questions on custom Renko? With the custom Renko, I'd run it for a couple of weeks before I went live on this one, at least, and I'd wait for the order entry to be corrected, because I know when we correct the order entry, the results aren't going to be as good, but it still looks really good. They should still be fairly solid. I think you're going to find that the custom Renko does a really good job of giving us some nice trade opportunities. Alright guys, so Chinese candlesticks. Okay, the Chinese candlesticks, okay, let's have a quick review on those. So your Chinese candlesticks, we'll do a file, we'll do a new chart. New workspace, and we'll load up the candlesticks. So your candlesticks are, these are your candlesticks here, and you've got, if you right click on your Chago format, you'll see that you've got the option within TradeStation to actually have a style. So we can do candlesticks or candlesticks with trend. So candlesticks are basically price bars that print with this. They usually have a wick or a full body. So these, and they've all got there's different names for each of these price bars that have been given to represent candlestick. So the candlestick is a description because these bars look like obviously candles, and they start to then to form different types of candles based on price movement. So you can get really bearish candles where you've got a full body candle with virtually no wick, and that describes almost a very bearish price move. You've got candles that like a doji candle where you've got a long wick and a very, very small body, where you can see that. And the reason why traders like these is because they're very descriptive. Oh, sorry, yeah, Chinese candlesticks. Oh, sorry, I didn't. I just read the candlesticks and didn't see. Okay, the Chinese candlesticks. Greg, we haven't got Chinese candlesticks on as part of these settings. We've got Japanese, but yeah, I haven't really had a look at these are your Japanese candles. So if you go into format strategy, these are all the Japanese candles. But yeah, I'm not sure about the Chinese candlesticks. I haven't really played with those on the charts. Yeah. Yeah, no, I look, I haven't looked at Chinese candlesticks, but the Japanese ones obviously. I mean, there's you can be trading and not really be very familiar with candlesticks because not everybody uses them. A lot of traders will just use price bars. That's it. They'll just use the standard price bars, the open, high, low price bar, and that, which is basically this type of price action here. Now that too again is very descriptive as well, but a lot of people like the Japanese candles because they are even more descriptive, and they kind of tell a little bit more of a story. So I haven't looked at Chinese though. I can have a look at it and kind of do a little bit of a training run through on those. But I'm sure they're quite interesting. But there's a lot of different chart types. All you've got to do is find something that really is accurate. That's what we're really looking for. We're looking at accuracy more than anything because we want the price bars to come through on the charts, but we want them to be representing price in real time and accurate. And that's the thing with Renko. Renko looks really good, but it's only probably about 80% accurate. But if you're getting really good results, then 80% can be a great number for you. But if your results are borderline, 80% is not going to cut it. So whatever chart type we use, we want to make sure that we've got that accuracy as far as the chart type. Because remember that you've got so many things available to you within this platform, and obviously MT4 as well. The platform's got it's got tick, volume, second, minute. You've got momentum bars, point and figure, range, Renko, line bars, case, KG. So there's all these different options, but each chart's going to have each chart really needs to be looked at and objectively assessed based on accuracy. How accurate is if I run this system real time, how accurate is it? Yeah. All right, guys. Any questions? I wasn't going to look at it today. I'll probably look at it on Wednesday. I'll probably schedule. I've got to re-download the platform and do some work on it myself. But I've got a couple of videos on multi-charts if you want to have a look at, if you want me to send you those, because we've done a bit of work on multi-charts previously as well. So I'm happy to shoot you through some stuff on multi-charts, because a couple of the things with multi-charts, and look, it's very, very similar to TradeStation. It looks like they've basically ripped off TradeStation's platform. But when you load a system, I'll shoot out an email today. Wednesday will be the same time. It'll be the 9 o'clock session, the 9 p.m. session. So I'm going to try and get some more people to the Sunday session because the Sunday's nice and relaxed and we can do a bit more and you guys can ask some questions and I can kind of run through and we can add in some different elements on the fly. So it's going to be, I think Sunday will be a good one. We just got to get a few more people to the session. That's all. Okay, so with multi-charts, I would definitely. One of the things you need to make sure with multi-charts is when you load up a strategy, we'll go to. It's the same as TradeStation. You've got to make sure that your properties for all. This box here, it's slightly different on multi-charts. You've got those minimum bars back. Every time you load a strategy in multi-charts, if you don't have a minimum number of bars back to reference, it'll set up this little box at the bottom of your chart. You've probably seen it with a cross on it. So that's something you've got to do. And also too with multi-charts, you've got to make sure that your contract sizing is right as well. So I've got a couple of videos on that. I'll shoot those through, Troy. That's all good. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll be updating kind of the top 10 and the PME as well. So keep your eye out for those today. Later today they'll go in, and we will have a list of our top 10. Cheers. Thanks for your time. Have a fantastic weekend.